Yo, what is good, everybody? I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. I got a good video here today. There's a lot of setups here for some free money. We were spot on with oil, we were spot on with SPY. A lot of money to be made there. We were looking for a massive run on SPY. That's what happened, and we're getting ready to short. So make sure to watch this whole video through. Make sure to show it some love. Give it a like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So, to start off, of course, we're starting with oil here. So, oil, I'm going to show you a quick message from the Discord. How this whole wave setup has played out. We were looking for this 5-wave structure, kind of up towards that 80 region, and that's what happened. We had a crazy gap up. We had some news. They're going to be cutting down the supply by like 500 million barrels a day for like the next few months. I forget what it was, but regardless, that news drove this spike up, and exactly what we were anticipating. News is really just an excuse for these technical setups to play out. So that's what happened. You can see you had a liquidity, um, uh, zero liquidity zone here that just got filled. So you can see testing liquidity actually jumped above that. But now this is a massive resistance zone. If you remember when we were talking about this range and we were waiting for the breakout, we said this is a really tough zone to break. And it is, I really don't think it can just break through this area here, um, these previous peaks without like dropping, because this is a huge resistance and it did not consolidate at all up into this. So I'm looking for a drop soon. We hit that target. The setup is there. So I'm just waiting, because when you have these massive gap ups, what can happen sometimes, actually most of the time, is that a lot of people. So let's say it's a gap up. Um, People will short right away. They see that gap up and they short right away, and oil will do this really annoying thing where it does this. It like continues to go up, stops out people, and so it's pretty good to be patient when it does these gaps, like gap ups and gap downs, because you could easily see something where it does something like one more spike and then it dies. So really looking for a massive drop here. So what you should be watching is SCO. That's the inverse leveraged ETF, and the drop from here. So the target would be that 50% retrace to the golden pocket, and that leveraged ETF moves 2x what oil does. So that target region is 73 to 70.50, and that is from here. That's like a 10-13% drop. So that's like 26, 27% for those Scotia. So keep an eye on that. Oil short, this is the setup we've been waiting for, and it looks like this could be it. So um, the one precaution though, if you get above this range, like over 84, you could somehow see it keep ripping, and I think that the only possibility for that kind of like scenario to play out is that this is still like, it's insane, but it could still be wave 3. So you get this one last. So it pulls back, you get a really decent push to probably around 84, and then you get one more pullback, and then one more high. And if you short from there, this drop is even bigger, which would result in like for those Scotias you would see. So I'm trying to measure this out. Okay, there we go. That would be like a almost 30-40% move on those Scotias. So keep an eye on oil here for the short. I think we got an opportunity coming up. So on to natural gas here. Not too much to say. Um, it's kind of being a pain here, but it looks like it's trying to bottom, to be honest. Um, we shorted up here. That was our target range. We were waiting for that 5-wave setup for it to drop. That's what we're waiting on oil here. Same setup. So if you've been following my channel, I love those 5-wave setups, shorten those, because it's free, it's safe. You just gotta be patient. And from here, it's holding this low, which means this could be setting up for a bigger degree of a move. So this would be wave 1, 2. While it's holding this low, this is, I think this is the case. It's crazy, but something like this. So this this is what I'm keeping my eye out for. It's crazy. I don't know if I want to be looking like out that big yet. I really just want to see it continue to hold this low, and if it doesn't, you could see some more selling off, because there's a massive demand zone here. I think I need to look at the weekly. In the past, this is where it has bottomed pretty much every single time. Take yeah, let me get rid of this stuff so you can see it a little better. Price is right around here, so you can see this is a pretty big zone where it usually gets picked up by buyers. So if it doesn't hold that area, you could see it continue to sell off. So crazy, but that's just how it works. So keep an eye on that low. If it holds, you could be ripping up, but if it doesn't, I think there's some high. I don't know if it could hit that line. That's pretty steep, but yeah, big thing to watch is that low, and if it holds, you could make some crazy money going long on natural gas. U.S. dollar, last week's video we were talking about this zone, how this was resistance. Once you got through it, you started ripping, you came back and tested it as support, and kept ripping, and this was our target area here. We had that wedge. We were looking for this to sell off. Once it finished this wedge, fill that area, now we're selling off. It's just kind of like this repeated cycle, just up and down, taking it, kind of like a breathing rhythm almost. So yeah, pulled back, testing this support here, and just really needs to hold this zone. You can see it's holding that 0.786 retrace. Once you get below the golden pocket, it starts getting a little dangerous in terms of like being able to continue to the upside. It's still possible though, but you can really see it's kind of like testing this golden pocket, seeing what the traders want to do around it. So if it doesn't hold this region where it is right now, we've talked about what's below this low down here, and that would be this region where there's some consolidation, and just this is where buyers would step in, at least momentarily. So not too much to say, we're just going to see what it's going to do around this region. This is a channel here, so channels, they never last forever. That's just not how it works. So regardless, we could see this maybe like bouncing this channel and then break out. So this channel will break out at some point, but you really kind of want to see some more like, I'd say like strength, kind of like really testing that line for it to break out, because here I'm not exactly sure if it's going to do it yet. It could come back all the way down, so keeping an eye on that. Not too much else to say. Apple, so it's been ripping since back here in January. I had a target of 160, like 162 to fill this gap. It got filled, and now what I said in my last week video is this could be the case. It could be going up almost to a new high. There's a very small gap here that has not been filled, so it could be heading up here, and you got this is kind of like, this is the last supply zone up here, because this is the all-time high, so there's no price history above that. So this is the last supply zone where I would expect, it's pretty unlikely that there isn't selling in this region around like the mid 170s. So if it gets up to the mid 170s, you could consider a short there. I'm not a financial advisor. These are all these trades are at your own risk, but this is just my opinion. If you get up to those mid 170s, bears are probably going to step in there, and that's where you're going to see that symmetry of this ABC structure. So that looks like a pretty smart area to consider a short. Tesla. So we were looking at a deeper correction here, but we also took note of the MACD, which was really showing some bullish strength. And this is where I kind of became skeptical of my bearish bias of going lower. As you can see, it just blasted through that 200 region. So this could be making its way up to that 240 level, even up to 260. So that was ultimately where I have been looking for this to get to, but nothing goes up forever, nothing goes down forever. It needed a correction, and this could have been enough. So we're going to zoom in a little bit and really kind of take a in-depth look at what the cases could be here. So first off, let's draw the fib. So like I said with the golden pocket, once you get past it, the odds start becoming lower that it's going to keep going in that direction. So you can see we got rejected off of it. That's where I was looking for a rejection on the first attempt, and it held. So that was really interesting because it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, It also broke this trend line that I've kind of just had up for a while here. So it's looking pretty strong. Uh, I'm probably gonna let go of that bear bias of making that correction down to fill this gap, at least for now. That's a pretty massive gap that will very, very, very likely get filled in the future, but for now, um, we're just going to let it do its thing. It's got some gaps up here. It's got some good incentive to get up here. We just broke out of this pretty big trend line, so we also got that daily MACD toning. So it's looking pretty bullish, to be honest. You really want to get past that peak, obviously, but maybe it needs some sort of pullback and then it can keep going. But yeah, I would be cautious about being a bear, looking for these lower levels for now. Amazon. So we've been waiting for quite a while. We were bearish, we were bullish down here, looking for this gap to get filled. We overshot it, and now what I'm looking for is a massive run up to possibly 140, because this looks like a wedge to me here. And we can look at the MACD for this, and you can see some crazy strength here. That momentum kind of showing that the momentum is supporting this thesis here. You got gaps up here which act as pretty big incentive. Once you break 124, it's kind of a straight shot up to 150, to be honest. So if you break this, it's seriously likely you're gonna get up to around 140. Like, that's kind of conservative, because once you enter a volume gap, you're just gonna go right through it. You can look in the past here. I'm just gonna draw a rectangle so it's a little more obvious. Blasted right through, rejected, blasted right through. So once you enter, or once you get past that 120, like this area, it's kind of a straight moonshot for 140. So we'll see if this wedge breaks out. It's pretty likely. It's pretty. It looks pretty clean to me. So we'll see. Yeah, it looks solid. The only thing it really needs is just general market strength. So keep an eye on Amazon for a big move up to 140. Biotech, very interesting. Not really. I don't really have too much to say about this. It broke that range. You could have made an absolute fortune trading this range, because it traded this range for so unbelievably long. This was from September to March. Just very, very, very consistent range. And these aren't small moves either. This is like 40% from the bottom to the top. So you could have made some crazy money, but it eventually broke out of that range. You can't stay in a channel forever. You can't go up forever. You can't go down forever. So it was inevitable for this to happen. And right now I think it's just a good area to wait. It might want to bounce up. We had that breakdown we were looking for of this trend line, because again, nothing goes up forever, nothing goes down forever, and this is that rising channel which was going to break eventually. So saved at the golden pocket. We're just going to kind of see what it wants to do from here. It looks pretty likely to get some sort of relief or breakout, which actually might have happened. So keep an eye out for some sort of bounce, but considering that it broke below a pretty crucial channel, although it's holding this low, you could see a decent bounce back up to that previous support, which will act as resistance. And from here, 20% move, so keep an eye out for that. Semiconductors, very interesting. The big macro move we're looking for. If this thing can get a major push up to like 500, I'm taking a massive short, and I've been saying that in every video, because that would be the most obvious 5 waves I've really ever seen. I mean, besides this was, so these waves are actually incredibly clean. 5 waves down, it was in a wedge. You're gonna have these divergences, very slight divergences, which kind of signal a shift in momentum is coming, and that's what happened. So this is the range it needed to hold. We've been talking about that for a few weeks. It held it, because if you break down to this range, this isn't a 5-wave structure, it's an ABC, which that results in a new wave set to the downside. So an ABC structure is corrective, which really just means this is impulsive, so this is the general direction. The ABC is a corrective, bounce relief, and then a continuation. So because it held this region, it could be heading for 500. And that's when I would take like one of the biggest short positions I've ever taken and hold it for a long time. So the VIX here, uh, not too much to say. It's kind of in this zone where the bottom's been holding for a while. So I guess it's just important to watch this region for the next few days, next 2 weeks, I'd say, around like 1830ish. That's where support's been holding, but I don't know if this thing's gonna hold forever. Uh, we'll have to see. You're gonna see what I have to say for the market, which is kind of gonna tie back into the VIX, with the chance that it might just die. So stick around for my analysis on SPY, which is gonna be right now. So uh, yeah, moving on to SPY here. I think it might be, yeah. We're just gonna start on futures first. So well, actually no, we're gonna move back to SPY. So we can actually kind of review what we've been looking for, uh, and just see how it's all been going. So back into the Discord, we were looking for a massive breakout out of this descending wedge. This is one of my favorite patterns to trade besides rising wedges and falling wedges because they're so consistent. The side that is less steep always breaks out, or almost always breaks out, like nine out of 10 times. The less steep side is the one that breaks, and that's what happened. And we really called the literal bottom on this. So we're waiting for that 50% retrace to get hit. Like I said, the 50% to the golden pocket is that range that stocks will usually bottom out in during a retrace. So we've retraced enough for a bounce doesn't mean it will or has to, because it could have gone lower to that golden pocket, but it was forming this wedge, and I said this was in fact the bottom. And where have we gone from there? Nothing but up. So we also had this inverse head and shoulders here, which was another pretty big bullish thing, and you up to the sky. And now I'm looking for a drop. So this, I'm just going to show it because it's already drawn. This is a possibility. You could have a massive head and shoulders here, which would take you down to, honestly, maybe 360 because of that gap. So keep an eye out on this. I think the big thing you'd want to watch is, like I said, the golden pocket. If you don't hold that golden pocket, so if you can just kind of see, I'm going to draw it here so it's a little more clear. Watch the numbers right here. So let's just say we top right around here, where that left shoulder is. So if we topped here and you get below 392, 391, you could be heading lower and it would start really looking like a head and shoulders here. So keep an eye out for that scenario. It's not exactly something I'm leaning towards, just a possibility. So we're going to zoom in a little and take a look at these trend lines that I'm watching, because these trend lines are being respected pretty well and are going to play a role throughout this week. So we broke, so let me take this off. Well, I'm going to explain this first. So this, I think, would mark the top 411. This is part of a big volume. You'll see what I'm talking about. So here we have a volume gap. You move up right into that next volume node. You get above that, you go through this volume gap right next to that next volume node where buyers and sellers are waiting. And right now we are sitting at right in here. So you're going to see some nasty resistance at 411, which also correlates to this fib level, which has to do with this low to the high to this low. So that would make this wave, wave A, equal to, let me just put it out. That would make it equal to wave A. So this is a possibility on the macro. What I'm also going to show you as a possibility on the macro is, and also I think the case I'm leaning to, this is wave 3, you get wave 4, and then you move up to 430. So very interesting. There's a lot of stuff that needs to kind of be done and structured in the charts before we can really talk about that. But that's kind of the case I'm leaning to before going to all-time lows, or not all-time lows, like sub 300. So really the big structure I'm looking at would be, like the big structure I'm looking at is A, B, C, up to like 430, 440, 450. Now I've been talking about this for months. And then this is going to make everyone turn into a bull. They're all gonna start talking about all-time highs, and then like absolute oblivion. So, uh, that's going to take some time to play out if that's the case. And for now, we're just going to really focus on like the medium term, like the next 3 weeks, I'd say, because we have some pretty big moves coming. So I think I'm done talking about SPY here. This is the trend line. We're right at that trend line. Also, one more thing is the TD's sequence count. So what happens after 9 counts? So usually you turn on 9 counts. If you don't turn on 9 counts, you usually turn on 13 counts. So 9, 10, 11, 12. One more candle, you'd have a 13 count on the 2 hours. So on the 1 hour, you got one more candle to make before 9 count. You can see you turned right on that 9 count. And it doesn't have to do it right on the 9 count, but it's just some seriously high incentive to turn. So you can see 10, 11, 12, 13. So you reverse. Yeah. Just look at it for yourself. 9 count, you reverse. 9 count, you reverse. So we're almost there. It's really, really, really likely we're going to at least pull back from here. So now we're going to talk about the wave structure, kind of like, I guess, the specific structure we're looking for. So I think what you want to be looking for is this. So you get a pullback and you get one more high. So on ES, that's going to be like, I would say probably like, well, we'll just use the fibs here. So this is wave 3, assuming we've topped. The range we're going to be looking at for wave 4 is, they can be pretty shallow from the 0.236 all the way down to the 50%. They can't go past 50% or past the peak of wave 1. So wave 1, that's not really something we're taking into consideration here. So it's really just the 50%. So we can go as deep as 40, 60 and then push up, but that looks a little too deep to me. So I think I'm gonna go with 410, 4104 to 4080 as kind of the support to be watching. And if you go below that, it's likely you're going to go lower, test this line, and very likely break underneath it to test under 4,000. So yeah, this is what you want to be watching. If we hold these supports here, and if you don't, you're just gonna go lower. So it's really as simple as that. Not too much else to say. If you bounce and you get one more high, we will drop from there, and that would be an even bigger drop because that finishes this entire structure. So if you get if you get a drop and bounce to one more high, you're going to retrace this entire structure here, and that's a pretty decent move. You'd move from like 4,200 all the way down to 4,000 to 3960. So keep an eye out for the retrace or this drop, and just see if it holds those supports. And if it doesn't, you could be heading lower. So just taking a look at the momentum on the MACD, it's obviously overextended, but that doesn't mean it can't move higher. That's something that's pretty important to know. Just because it's overextended doesn't mean it can't go higher. So this is clearly a melt up, and I can prove that by showing you the volume. The volume is not supporting this move here, which really just kind of signals that it's melting up, it's short covering, and short squeezes will always return to the mean reversion with the average. So this will pull back eventually. It just needs time. It has to finish this out. The big money might need to distribute. We just ended the quarter. That's when all this money is getting repositioned and shifted around. So it might need a couple days to kind of find a top here, but this is very likely going to at least pull back a bit. And from there you can see if it's going to get that last high before a bigger correction. So you can see here, this volume has been declining. Now, this candle, because it was just the end of the quarter, I'm not really taking this with too much emphasis, I guess. So you can, throughout that Friday or the last day, you can see it was this last candle that had some absolutely absurd volume, but throughout the day it was pretty much normal. We're just gonna like that. That's insane. So that volume really came from the end of the day where all that money was getting repositioned right before the end of the quarter. So I'm taking that candle with kind of like a grain of salt. But other than that, the volume has been declining uh, since kind of the middle of this run up, as you can actually since the start of the run up, which yeah, this isn't something you want to see if you're a bull and you're looking for like really moving up to the upside. So we got a correction coming. It's just going to need some time to distribute maybe. It could get an instant reversal to the downside, but I wouldn't really be favoring that. I would have some patience here. So that's all I got for this video. To summarize, this is really the picture to look at. We retrace, get one more high, then drop, or we just drop straight from here. So that's where I'm going to leave this video. If you watched the whole thing through, make sure to show it some love, give it a like and subscribe, and peace out, guys.